Hi, this is Ed Combs, and we're still in Business 16, Personal Insurance. And what we're going to discuss in this particular unit are a couple of the key attributes of insurance. First, we'll talk a little bit about risk management, sort of what it is and how insurance is one form of risk management. And then secondly, we'll talk about insurance as a transfer system. What transfer means is that through the payment of a premium and the acceptance of a contract, an individual or company is able to transfer the consequences of a loss occurring. So let's start out with the business of a risk management technique. And as the slide indicates, risk management is the process of making and implementing decisions that will minimize the adverse effect of accidental losses. And it says on an organization, but you can think on a family and an individual as well. The adverse effects of accidental losses is a weighty sounding description. Basically, what risk management attempts to do is put your affairs in such a way that losses are the least likely to occur. And then if they do occur, they'll be as small as possible. So those are sort of the two things you can do in risk management. And if we proceed to the second point, you'll see that that's what it says, although it probably puts it in higher sounding words. You know, the two aspects are loss prevention. Remember, you put your affairs in a way that makes it very unlikely for something bad to happen. And the fancy way to describe that is reduces the frequency. And then the other thing you can do is, well, you can't stop all losses, but maybe you can do things to make the ones that actually happen cost less. And that's loss reduction. And similarly to the fancy way of saying loss prevention is to reduce the frequency, the fancy way of saying loss reduction is to say reduce the severity of a particular loss. Boy, we always have trouble getting this thing to advance. There we go. Okay, so the second point we wanted to discuss is insurance as a transfer system. And transfer means that through the use of a contract and the payment of a premium, an individual or company is able to take a risk that used to be theirs and essentially give it to this other entity, an insurance company. And, you know, an example of that, say, would be that you insure your house. And without that insurance, sort of anything that happened to your house would be your responsibility. And you would have needed to have saved the money to deal with those responsibilities. So that if a bad windstorm came and damaged your roof, you'd have the savings to repair the roof. If you had transferred that loss exposure, you would have most likely gotten a policy from an insurance company that would pay for those losses when certain predefined occurrences came to pass. So insurance is a system of both transferring and then also sharing the cost of losses. The sharing occurs because all of the people that have bought or organizations that have bought a particular insurance policy have paid a premium. The insurance company that collected the premium puts those all into a common pool and then uses those to pay losses that meet the characteristics that were described in the insurance contract. So those are two really key attributes of insurance. The first is that insurance is a risk management technique. It's not the only one. We've talked about that there are other risk management techniques, but insurance is probably the one that's used the most in our personal lives and amongst companies. And then the second is insurance as a transfer system. You know, through the use of contracts and premium payments, it allows individuals and companies to take loss exposures and essentially give them to an insurer who will handle them when certain things occur. So hopefully those things are clear, and don't hesitate to give me a call or participate in the weekly the office hours if any of this is unclear. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.